Who should you spend time with? We can't do it. No, that's not what you said.
What did I say? We'll show you how. I'll forget that I gotta sit up like a freak.
Don't say that. Just stop.
You ready?
Yeah. Welcome back to Adore Your Spouse, where marriages get happier. We have a new problem in the last century that we didn't used to have for many centuries before. And that problem is that there are a lot of men and women spending a lot of time with other men and women that aren't their spouse. That didn't really used to happen much. You know, people got married for the most part in most cultures, most everywhere. Mom was home, she hung out with her friends, dad was working, he hung out with the guys, and that was just kind of how things went down. But things are very, very different today. We face a brand new problem that is causing some marriages to struggle.
Yes, we are.
So you've got husbands and wives that often both go into the workforce, and sometimes they're put on teams with members of the opposite sex. Sometimes they have bosses or people that they're over. Sometimes, I know a guy who recently had to go on a road trip. He and another woman that wasn't his wife on a road trip across the country to do something for work. So it's a difficult issue. So the question is, who should you be spending time with? What are we going to do about this issue? Is it really a problem? Is it not really a problem?
But more than who you're going to spend time with, how you're going to handle it.
Yeah.
To maintain the trust and keep yourself emotionally distant from others. Well, there's a few things you can do. The number one thing I would do is just talk about it. Because if you know you're going to get put on an assignment, you've got to go on a road trip, or you know that you're going to have to work closely with this person of the opposite sex at work, then you just need to discuss it with your spouse to make sure that everything's on the up and up. And just by discussing it creates trust.
Okay, so number one, you've got to have the courage to be honest with yourself and your spouse and maybe even your boss if you're really genuinely super attracted to someone. Like, if you know you're getting put on a team with them or they work really close to you and there's just some natural attraction there, you got to be honest about that, and your spouse has to not be threatened by that, and you've got to figure out a way to work around that, because the best thing is just to nip it in the bud, right? Yeah. Right in the beginning.
It's a lot better.
I'm at work, I'm in a situation where I have to spend time with the person I'm really attracted to. What are we going to do about it, and how can I get myself out of that situation so that it doesn't become a temptation, especially if the marriage is struggling.
Now, if it's a lot better to tell your spouse that you're attracted to someone at work rather than that you just had an affair with someone at work. So It might be embarrassing to say, but I promise you it's going to be a million times better to say something up front.
Yep. And so if you both watch these videos and if you both could watch it and talk about it, then maybe it would be a little easier for you both to actually have, kind of a open discussion about the truth about what's really going on in these relationships, because let's be honest, your spouse is not blind, nor are they stupid, and they're going to notice changes in your behavior. And if your marriage is struggling and that person, we're all human. The best people wind up in an affair because that person just was too big of a temptation when the marriage was already in trouble.
Because they allowed the temptation because they didn't put certain parameters in. And the other thing you need to do is, I think, an important thing to do to prevent problems is to keep work. So you may have to text a colleague, right, or something at work.
Yeah.
But you don't cross the line. And if they cross the line, you have to let them know. And I would let your spouse know that this colleague crossed the line and made a remark about something that has nothing to do with business and is kind of flirting with you, but you want to get that out in the open. And it goes with social media as well, because, hey, I've seen them because they're a friend from high school, right? And all of a sudden they pop up and you say, hey, how's it going? And all of a sudden you have this discussion and you have to just say, oh, it's over. Or you know what I mean? Or I'm not going to go there and engage in discussion with you frequently because I'm married.
Yeah, and we all just want to think that we're just so strong, we're so valiant, and we're so moral that we can do whatever we want and we can blur the lines as much as we want, and we're going to be the ones that never get tempted and that never get in trouble. And it's just not true. Let's just be honest.
Those are the people that always end up getting in trouble.
Well, we're all vulnerable, and physical attraction is real. It's a real thing. So we suggest that you be very careful and that you be very honest with yourself and then honest with your spouse. And so our challenge is that you have a discussion, regardless of what end of the spectrum you're on right now with this particular situation. This week, have a discussion with your spouse. I'd like to talk to you for just a few minutes about what we're going to do about spending time with the opposite sex. Is there anybody right now that, is kind of a problem for you in this way? What should be our policy in the future? What are the lines? Can we go out with people to lunch? Can we, what are we going to do about this? And then just start a conversation. So in the future, if there's an attraction, it's easy. Remember how we agreed that we would tell each other if we felt attracted? Well, now I'm coming to you because I don't want to have an affair on you.
And I had a friend that he had set up an appointment because he was a real estate agent like I was, and a loan officer or title officer invited him to lunch. And he was all excited about it. He got a free lunch, and then they discussed it, but he discussed it with his wife, and he had to call up and cancel because she felt so uncomfortable.
Wow.
But he did it. He canceled, and that was the right thing to do.
If it makes your spouse feel uncomfortable, honor it. So take that challenge this week and begin a discussion about what you're going to do about opposite sex relations, because it's a very important topic affecting a lot of marriages today. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe. Head over to adoreyourspouse.com. Take the free assessment. Sign up for the free class. They're awesome, awesome tools and resources for your marriage. And remember, you can have the happy marriage that you want. Well, it meant that sometimes she disciplined those kids in a way that they didn't like. Now, of course, if someone is abusive, let's not go with this plan.
Right.
But what we wanted to mention today is that you need to back up your spouse, especially when it comes to complicated